Baby, I know my body. Like, girl, if we don't just push, God will give you the desires of your heart. Postpartum will not have me, you know. I was good on my own, that's the way it was. That's the way it was. Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. My name is Alexis Janae. If you're new here, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe before you leave and join the fam, you guys. So if you read that title, this is my birthing story. Just a little disclaimer, if you see me in the same outfit in another video, I literally am recording these videos back to back to back to back to get content out to you guys because I'm so appreciative of the growth of the channel and really want to be on my Zoom. So yes, without further ado, let's just get right into it. So I did tell you guys I would tell you my whole birth story, epidural story, so that's what we're doing. So just backstory of my pregnancy, y'all. This is my third pregnancy. I do have two other daughters that I birthed. They are 11 and Joel will be 10 in June. So 11 and 10. And yes, so this is my third pregnancy. Both my other pregnancies were very smooth. I was young. I didn't have any type of complications. And the birthing went smooth. I had both my kids like within hours of arriving to the hospital. They were here. 2-3 pushes, both of them went that way. So I was kind of expecting the same thing going in with this one, but the pregnancy, y'all, this time around was completely different. Like luckily, thank God, all praises be to God, I didn't have any like major complications, no blood pressure issues. Definitely, given that I was to me on the heavier side, definitely considered to them obese. So being a heavier woman and then also being almost 30, I was worried that I would have complications. I didn't have any type of complications, no blood pressure, no nothing as far as that. I would say this pregnancy from the very beginning, you guys, I was nauseous. I never threw up, but very nauseous. At like 14 weeks, I think that's when the like round ligament pains kind of started, and those were draining. Those were horrible, you guys. Like it was hard to work. Plus I worked my entire pregnancy, going into the office a couple days out of the week, having to work downtown, so walking, having to work in like business casual, so I'm wearing heels. Like, you guys, I just was having a hard pregnancy, as far as like lower pelvis pain. She sat low pretty much the whole time, so I dealt with like the nausea, the round ligament pains. I think about at like 30 weeks is when I started to have like the Braxton Hicks, and those continued like up until I went into full on labor. So it was kind of like different, and I never experienced Braxton Hicks with my other two, so it was kind of hard to like kind of track when I was going into real labor. And as the weeks got closer to my due date, the Braxton Hicks were more constant. Like the week before, I had started kind of working from home thinking that I was going to go into labor, and it just was progressing. So I had the Braxton Hicks. Those were more annoying than anything, and it made it very like, am I going to labor? Am I going to labor? Am I going to labor? And like, she had been in position for weeks, you guys, like weeks. And she started to sit very, 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 very low weeks. Like, it was hard the last couple of sonograms to even see her because she had dropped so far into my pelvis. So I was just like convinced in my mind this baby was coming early. This baby was coming earlier than my other two because those pregnancies was nothing like this one. So I was like, she's coming early. You know, I just knew it. So the whole kind of time, I just mentally had prepared myself for her to come a week or two early. The pressure was getting worse, what they say. But yeah, the pressure was getting worse. She sat so low, walking anywhere. I was exhausted this whole pregnancy, tired, like I could barely work. Like, there was times that I was working from home because I couldn't go into the office, and work drained me, that I didn't have nothing else to give the family. You know, like a lot of times my husband was having to cook because I just couldn't physically get up off the couch. I couldn't get out the bed. It was a rough pregnancy. But as far as actual labor, you guys, so her due date was March 29th. It was Good Friday. On that Sunday, I think I took out some of those clips, but we had started walking around the neighborhood. We did a couple laps. I couldn't walk far, you guys. If I have that footage, I'll insert it if I still have some of those clips. I walked around the neighborhood, and then that Monday, I don't think I did anything. Tuesday, my husband was like, once he got home from work, he was like, get up, let's go walking. I was like, okay, let's go to Target. I think I can make it longer if we walk around Target instead of just the neighborhood, y'all. So we went to Target, just looking around, brisk walking, looking at things, looking at baby things, looking at different strollers and stuff. And we were in there, I would say like 45 minutes to an hour, just walking. We was looking at headphones, all kind of stuff, y'all, just trying to walk around the store to get this baby out of me. And then y'all, so that was Tuesday, March 26th. On Wednesday, March 27th, when I went into labor, I would say around I woke up around like 4 or something that morning. Around 5 something is when the contractions started. They were very mild and very short, so like I didn't really know what it was. But they continued to occur like I think I told y'all in that video, they were like, at first like every 10 minutes, but they were like 20 seconds long, 30 seconds long, so it wasn't long at all. Okay, so like I was saying, at first the contractions were like every 10 minutes. They were 10 minutes apart and only like 20 seconds long, and easy, no pain, like, okay girl, we got this. And that lasted, I would say, about an hour and a half. Once the kids started getting up, they get up about 6. So the contraction started at like 5:30. About 6, the kids started getting up. So about like 6:15, 6:30, I was telling Bae like, hey, I've been having. I don't know, but I found these results on search. Girl, that scared the shit out of me. Around like 6:30, that's when I told Alex, I was like, hey, the contractions have been like an hour. I think we should go to the hospital. Now they're getting closer to 5 minutes apart. And that's when my doctor said, when they're 5 minutes apart, and they said 5 minutes apart and lasting at least a minute. So they weren't a minute. They were only like 30 seconds. So I was like, should I go? But they were like every 5 minutes, like they dropped to 7. But by the time we left to go to the hospital, they were down to 5. So I was like, okay, let's just go. They weren't that painful at that time. Like I was still able to like breathe through them. But they were like every 5 minutes. So we left, Alex went to take the kids to school and then came back and got me. I was like, let's eat. I don't know I don't know how long I'm gonna be in labor. I don't know if they're gonna send me home, because with both my other kids, you guys, they sent me home. Both of them. I had went like the night before with both of my girls, and they was like, oh, you're not in full-blown labor, come back when you're in labor. So I was already expecting, okay, like they're gonna send me home. I think even in the clip, I was like, in the video, I was like, I hope they don't send me home. I pray that they don't send me home, because I wasn't like in full blown. I wasn't like, like get this baby out of me. Like I was just very mellow, very chill, just going with the flow. So I was like, let's eat. I don't know when the next time I'm gonna eat. So we stopped, grabbed tacos. Y'all seen that. And then we went ahead and went to the hospital. When I got there, within like an hour, everything started to move kind of very fast. That's why I wasn't able to really pick up my camera and record for you guys, because things started moving very fast, you guys. They got me back there and they checked, and they was like, well, when she checked my cervix, she was like, you're still only, or she said you're only 3 centimeters dilated and about like 70% E phase. So I was at 70% E phase. The last week I went to my OBGYN checkup, and I was like 2.5. So I was like, dang, I only moved 0.5 centimeter in a week. Like I was like, at that point I was like, oh, they're finna send me home. Like she not coming. And this is 2 days before my due date. She's not coming. Like I just knew it was about to be a very long process. But y'all, I think once she checked my cervix, things started to take off. Things started to take off. So she was like, okay, well, I'm gonna go give the doctor the information, and then we'll see if they want to send you home or check you again in an hour. And that's the last I heard. I don't think I ever seen that nurse. It was two of them, because it was one nurse and I think one was like training. So I never seen them again after that point. Like, she checked me, went to talk to the doctor, and like maybe like 15 minutes, 15, 20 minutes later, maybe like 15 minutes. It wasn't that long. Another nurse had came in and she was like, okay, we're finna have this baby today. And she started my IV, and I was like, I guess so. Like, I ain't heard nothing. You know, they never came back and said, yeah, the doctor's gonna keep you. It was just like, the lady came in and started my IV, and I was like, oh shoot, okay, like, let's go, you know, because they never came back and gave me an update. But so she started my IV and stuff, and y'all, at this point, the contractions was picking up. Like, they were still 5 minutes apart, but they were starting to be very, very painful. Once she checked my cervix, baby girl was like, I'm coming, because they were painful at that point. And mind you, going into this whole thing, you guys, this pregnancy, I said I wanted to do it natural. I wanted to at least try natural. And I wasn't gonna put too much pressure. Like, if I broke down at the end and did an epidural, I wasn't like mad at myself, but I did want to try natural. So that was my whole thing going into it, you guys. So at this point, I'm like, okay, these contractions, they manageable. But baby, they started to pick up. And so they got my IV, the lady poking. Blood is like running down. The first lady who did my IV, like, she was, something about, you know, my veins aren't that big, so whatever vein she hit, like Alice said, there was blood like dripping onto the floor. I could feel like blood running down my arm or whatever. So they finally got the IV in, and this nurse, this was the one that y'all seen in the video that told us that we couldn't record. Like, she came in, fixed my IV, or she may have waited till we got to the other room. She cleaned it up or whatever, and then moved us to where we would deliver. She was very nice, very sweet the whole time. She was the main one with us. And then so she had fixed my IV, cleans it up, got me new bandages and stuff, and started to, she got the ball for me. I was letting her know, like, my plan was to do it natural. And then I let her know if I wanted the epidural, I would let her know that I wanted the epidural. And she was like, well, just keep in mind, you know, it takes about 45 minutes for from the time you say you want the epidural for us to come put it in. And if it gets too late, you know, we can't put it in. So at that point, she had brought out the peanut ball, and I was just bouncing on the peanut ball, which I'm so happy that I did. And she was just telling me different techniques, because at that point, I watched all the TikToks in the world, you guys, about like what to do in the labor, like swaying, like being up and walking. But baby, when them contractions were hitting, all that was kind of going out my mind, and I'm like, and you know, you're not supposed to hold it in, you're supposed to let it out. So I'm like holding in all of this, and she's like she's calming me down, telling me to breathe, you know, telling me different techniques to like sit down, like as the contractions kind of like push my pelvis down to help her move lower. Into like the birthing canal. So I'm trying to do everything she said, but them contractions were painful. And at that point, they were every 3 minutes. So I'm just tired. Like, by the time I catch my breath, another one coming. And at the whole time, the monitors that they have, you know, that they put on you to track, baby and to track you, they kept moving. So she just kept coming. Like, she had other rooms to check, but she kept coming in, and she was like, I'm not seeing, you know, I'm not tracking you because they keep moving. So at the same time, I'm trying to be on the ball. She's like, move this way, move that way. And we're constantly having to change these things while I'm having contractions. And y'all, it was just being stressful. And then she was saying, and so I did that for a while. I had put my gospel music on. I had Alex there with me, just kind of holding my hand, trying to get through those contractions, because they were very, very painful. And I was starting to get wore out. Like, I remember saying, like, babe, I'm tired. Like, I can't do this. I'm physically tired. And at this time, I hadn't been rechecked since 3 centimeters. So I don't know how far along I am. I'm like, baby, I can't do this all day. if this is where we at and we only at 3, if we only at 3 and this is what I gotta do all day, no ma'am, no ham, no turkey, no ma'am, whatever. Like if I'm only at 3 centimeters and I gotta do this all day, no, it's not happening. So I'm like, I'm tired. Give me the epidural so I can take a nap. I'm thinking like, if I get the epidural, I'm gonna take a nap. It's gonna slow it down and I ain't gotta feel these pain, you know. Hold on, y'all, baby girl. All right, you guys. So finally, I told Bae, like, hey, next time she come in, tell her I want the epidural. So, you know, she said it was 45 minutes, that I could only do about 45 minutes left of this, and then I'm going to get my epidural. You know, the whole time the monitor, she's switching different monitors like 3 times because they wasn't reading baby girl, and she needed to monitor, you know, of course, like how her heart rate was doing. And when they did hook baby girl up, every time the contractions was happening, it was a point where it was like baby girl's heart rate had dipped, you know, and that freaked me out because she was like, now she's dipping, and she was like, well, I don't know, you know, they don't know if that means the cord is around her neck. And when I heard that, like, of course, as a mom, you're gonna freak out. So I was like, what, like, oh my gosh, you know. And it was just when I was having the contractions, and I was like, well, is it from me tensing up, like, you know, am I like squeezing? I was just worried. I don't know what I thought it was, but I was worried because her heart rate was dropping, and that began to worry me. And I was like, well, if this is because, you know, I was like, well, is she feeling the contractions? And she was like, yes, you know, I guess. Like in essence, that's when she's moving down into the birthing canal during those contractions. Come to find out, it was because she was swallowing her own poop, basically, that her heart would, there's a term for it. Medical people will know what I'm talking about, or if you have babies, you may have experienced this as well. But she was essentially swallowing her own poop during the labor process. So at that point, I was for sure like, yeah, let's do the epidural. Like I had given it the most run, because with my other ones, I got the epidural fast. Like I labored in the bed the whole time, never was up on a peanut ball moving around, walking around the room, never did that back then. But this time, I think they nowadays want you to labor more without the epidural. So she had the peanut ball. She was telling me to like sway this way. We were just trying different techniques. And then once I finally got into the bed, she was like, well, let's just keep you, you know, stabilized, put the monitor on so that I can monitor you. And at that point, I had got into the bed. And things I don't know how long the time frames, because at that time, everything just kind of mashed together. It seemed fast to me, but it could have been like 30 minutes apart, hours apart. I don't know. We made it to the hospital around 9 a.m. Yeah, around like 9 a.m. And she was here by she was born at 1:52 that afternoon. So that gives you a time frame of how fast everything was moving. So I had got into the bed, and then still contractions coming. She's coming back and forth in between the rooms. She was like, well, I got to start dry IV. I got to get you at least like halfway through these fluids before we could have the epidural, before you could get the epidural. So when they finally come in to get the epidural, these contractions are every 3 minutes, very painful. And then I did consent to like a student being, but I didn't know a student would be the one actually doing my epidural. I thought like a student would be in a room watching a doctor do the epidural. But baby, they had the student doing my epidural. What sense does that make? I have no idea, because, you know, I'm always terrified. You could be paralyzed if you move. Epidurals are nothing to play with, all that. That's what I've heard my whole life, so I don't play with epidurals. Or I don't play with that needle to get the epidural. But, so yes, the student was doing my epidural. You guys, we hadn't been rechecked, and she was like, well, I don't want to recheck you, because if you too far along, you can't get this, you know, you can't get this epidural. And at that point, I was with her because, baby, I was like, I'm not going any longer without the epidural. I need it. So don't check me until after we get this thing in. Baby, because I know, now I'm looking back, if she would have checked me before, oh, baby, I would never have been able to get the epidural. So, Yeah, so the student was doing my epidural, and y'all, contractions are every 3 minutes, and I thought they had to do them in between contractions, but no, they was like, well, if you're in the middle of one, we could still do it. So they're like, be still, you can't move, you know, whatever, but contractions are coming and they're very painful, and they're trying to ask me questions like, well, do you feel pain? Because like, well, he was putting the needle in my back, but I was like moving, but like just like clenching up, you know, not like jumping and moving, but I would like clench up. And he was like, well, do you feel that? Like, do you feel pain? And I'm like, yes, I feel something. He was like, well, do you feel pain or pressure? And I'm like, I don't know what I feel, because I'm feeling contractions. Like, I was just so confused. I'm like, I don't know what I feel. I feel pain, I feel contractions, but I felt pain where the needle, like it was like a stinging, and I was like, no, that's not pressure, that's stinging. Like, and he was like, well, where do you feel it? He's trying to ask me all of these things while I'm constantly having contractions. So like, I was just being overwhelmed. The nurse was in front of me trying to calm me down. And like, they kept at it. Like, he kept at it. Like, they kept trying to poke me or like push. He was like, you should feel pressure, you should feel pressure, you should feel pressure. I was feeling like stinging, and it just was not working, and they kept doing it. And mind you, like, they're like, just stay still. I'm hunched over. They like, stay still, please stay still, whatever. And I'm just getting overwhelmed, and I'm like, babe, I cannot do this. The doctor was like, the nurse was finally like, hey, like, calm down, you got this, like, you could do this, like, you have to be still, like, you know, once the epidural, like, she was just like, she was stern. Like, she was talking to me like she was my mom. Like, she was stern, but she wasn't like rude about it. And I was like, just give me a moment, you guys. Like, just give me a moment. And I'm like, babe, I cannot do this. Like, I'm in a lot of pain. He's standing right next to the doctor or the nurse holding my hand. And then finally, the actual nurse or anesthesiologist, not the student one, the main one, had took over, and she, you know, took the needle out and had, I guess, found another spot to insert the needle. And at that point, she got it in, you know, she found a different spot. And like, if she was like, you're gonna feel a lot of pressure. So I felt pressure, and even with her, it felt like a long time. Like, it just felt like they were back there for a very long time compared to my other ones. I feel like the other ones, it was like boom, 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 okay, you're done, lay down. Lay down and have that baby. But with them, they were back there what seemed like 30, 45 minutes. Like, it seemed very long, because he tried for about 10 to 15 minutes, and then she did it for about 15 minutes. So probably like 30 minutes, what it felt like to me. And she was like, a lot of pressure. At that point, I wasn't really feeling pain from the epidural. It was like just a lot of pressure and still having the contractions, because I could feel them, because nothing had kicked in yet. And so she finally got it in and had to do all that she had to do back there. It seemed like a long time. And then I finally laid down at that point. I think once they got that settled, my nurse was like, okay, she's gonna go check on her other rooms, because things was happening with her other patients. I think she says that in the video. Things was happening in her other room. She had to get the nurse to go help her or something. And then it was just me, at that point, me, Alex, and my mother-in-law in the room. My mom hadn't made it yet, but they were sitting on the couch talking, and I was just laying in the bed, and I'm like, y'all, I feel pressure. Like, this not right. I'm like, how long it's been? Like, because at that point, the epidural had started to kick in, so I wasn't feeling like the heart, like the very strong pains of the contraction, but I just felt a lot of pressure down there, you know, like they say. So I'm like, babe, I feel a lot of pressure, and I mentioned it. Maybe like 5-10 minutes later, I was like, nah, like, I feel a lot of pressure. So I finally told him, like, you know, please call the nurse. I think we're ready to push, you know. Hold on, y'all, baby girl. Okay, let's try to wrap this up, because she's waking up. So at that point, I was like, please have the nurse check me. I think it's time to push. Like, I just feel a lot of pressure. It was like hurting, like a little hurting, because it was just very uncomfortable, a lot of pressure, but I wasn't like in excruciating pain. So she finally come back, she checked me, she was like, oh girl, she right there. She was like, oh, she's right there. And I was like, what? Like, I'm ready to push. So at that point, she's scrambling, she's trying to get the doctor in there. She's calling the doctor. She's trying to get geared up. There was something she needed to start. I was like supposed to be getting some antibiotics, I want to say. Yeah, so she hadn't even started that. She thought we had more time. I had let her know ahead, you know, that the whole, you know, with my other kids, I came to the hospital and I had them in a few hours with a couple pushes. And she was like, she had mentioned, you know, she was like, yeah, I know that was your experience with the other one, but I don't want you to get your hopes up with this one, thinking that this pregnancy would go the same way. Baby, I know my body. This is my third time. I know what I'm going to do. I know what I'm going to do. I know what my body going to do. But I let her, I was like, yeah, you're right. But so she's thinking we have time, baby. We don't have time. I know my body. I'm finna have this baby. And so she's trying to get the doctor in there. She called the doctor. The doctor finally came. She was like, now everyone's scrambling. There's other nurses in there to help her at that point. Y'all seen them. They were all nice. Everybody was super nice, super, like, we didn't even have time to go get the gift basket that I had made them. I had let her know, like, we got the gift basket, but because the whole time I'm like, babe, don't go get nothing. I'm trying to make sure my mom is here. My mom is, she finally walks in. She was like, at that point, my mom finally walks in. She was like, oh, she finna have this baby. Like, because that morning when I was 3 centimeters, I told her, like, Mom, you know, just stay home, you know. I don't know, we could be here all day. I'm only 3 centimeters. And at this point, I wasn't even 100% effaced. So I'm like, my cervix ain't even thinned out all the way. So I didn't think it would be to the evening, maybe even to the next day that I would have her. So I was like, just finish your work day and then come later. But then I had kind of told Alex, probably like 10 or 11, like, hey, go ahead and let my mom know. I don't want her to miss it. You tell her, you know, she could come. She was like, well, I'll come at noon, you know. I'll come at noon. I'm gonna just continue to work here and then I'll come at noon. And she said she continued to work and then she finally left. And when she finally got there, like, I'm like, you know, once they're starting to, like, I feel pressure, I'm like, Alex, where's my mom? He called her. She said she's outside or whatever. So when she finally walked in, the doctor, I don't know if the doctor was in there yet or she was coming in there getting paired. They getting all set up because baby girl, she could see the nurse when she finally checked me. She was like, oh yeah, her head is right there. So the doctor gets all set up. They're doing whatever they're doing. And at this point, the epidural had kicked in. So I wasn't in like a whole bunch of pain. It was just pressure and I was ready to push. So as she's like telling me in the video, like, do you remember, you know, pushing before? My doctor was super cool. This wasn't my main OBGYN, but at my clinic, they had us go around to different doctors and be with them. Or like, you know, at least know them so that, because it would be whoever was on call. So this doctor was on call and she had it whenever I did the membrane sweep. She was the doctor that I seen that Friday who actually did my membrane sweep and was trying to get me into labor the Friday before. Or this was that, sorry y'all, this was that Wednesday after a super. And then and I'm like, girl, if we don't just push. But I mentioned, I don't think it's on camera, but I was like, yeah, I just had a contraction. So the next one, we started to push. I pushed that whole contraction and then we stopped and she was like, you're so good, you know, everyone cheering me on. We couldn't record, you guys, unfortunately. She was just like, once baby came, I wish we would have got those moments because it was very special. Everybody, my mom was there, Alex's mom, and my husband of course was there, and then all of the nurse and doctor. They was very encouraging. And then I took a break, and then that next one, she was like, let's go at it again. So I'm pushing, and she finally came. What seemed like 3 pushes, you guys, she was there in probably like 4 or 5. But very, very quickly, she came out. But that first one, they could see her head, and my mom was saying in the video, like, once her head was out, like, they could see her, like, wiggling, squirming around, trying to get up out of there. So, head full of hair. They could see her hair and see her squirming around. And then, or when I was pushing again, that's when she finally came. And I think that's, at that point, we had turned the camera back on. But yes, that was just so special to me. The epidural was very scary, you guys. Them poking around in my back and me trying to stay still. I'm trying not to be paralyzed. And then also baby girl's heart rate was dropping. And then they were saying, like, after what, it was like the blood pressure cup was too small. They had the wrong size on me. But after I delivered, she was saying like my blood pressure was dropping. I've never, mind you guys, I said I've never had any type of blood pressure issues in my life, and definitely not throughout this pregnancy. So for her to be like, well, your blood pressure is dropping. So she's like, I'm gonna monitor this. And like, it was worrying me. My mom was worried at that point. And then, and she put a different one on, and sure enough, my blood pressure was fine. Me and baby girl both were very healthy. God is good. God is amazing. I have a beautiful baby girl, and she is doing well, you guys. Like, I know we had to do the follow-up hearing. That was worrying me. She failed while we were in the hospital, but she did pass the next week when we went. God is just truly amazing, and God will give you the desires of your heart. I remember praying for a daughter with my husband. We both have children outside of our, previous children before we got together, but I know I wanted a daughter, or I wanted a child with him, I wanted a child with my husband, and I'm just truly, truly grateful. God will give you the desires of your heart. We are doing well. Thank you guys so much for your well wishes throughout this journey. Thank you for subscribing to the channel and following along with this journey with me, you guys. I definitely want to bring you guys more content, baby content. I know that you guys are just eating up how beautiful she is. She is just the sweetest little girl. She's so clingy. She just wants to be held. She's greedy. She likes to eat. But God truly has just softened my heart and changed my life for a third time. I'm truly just happy to be a mother for the third time. I wouldn't change a thing. I know that I wanted a boy so bad, you guys. I wanted a boy so bad, and I didn't understand why God didn't give me a boy. But I understand now. God needed me to have this daughter. God needed me to have her in my life. And I am just truly grateful for her and my other children. And my family and my support system, my village has just been 10 toes down about us, and I could never repay them for the love that they showed me. I know I made a video briefly, you guys. I'm doing well. Postpartum will not have me, and I know it is early, but I am doing well. We are transitioning into finally me going back to work. I have enjoyed these weeks being with my daughter. She'll be 6 weeks tomorrow as I'm recording this video. And yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. That is my birthday vlog. I hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know if you have any other questions. I think I got everything. I hit every point. But if you have any other questions, definitely leave them down in the comment section. I love to engage with you guys and talk to you guys. So definitely give me a big thumbs up if you made it this far. Subscribe to the channel, share the video, and I will see you guys in my next video.